Hey guys, and welcome back to Stuff Steve Likes. And I'm Steve, and this is the channel where I talk about stuff that I like. Today we're going to do a watch review. I'm going to call this review the Casio G-Shock, the perfect EDC watch. And there's a few reasons that I think that the Casio G-Shock is the perfect everyday watch. Number one is Casio is a very respected brand among watch enthusiasts, even people that have Rolexes and Panerais and all these high-end watches. A lot of them do still have a Casio watch. Now, not all Casio watches are G-Shocks, of course. I'll get into that here in a minute. But Casio in general is just a very well-respected brand. They have original designs. They've been the forerunner in a lot of the digital watch technology. And I can think about back when I was a kid, I had a Casio Trigraph, and it had a stopwatch and a timer and all that on it. And this was back, I guess, probably in the early 90s. But I wore that watch all throughout junior high and high school. It was tough. It worked, kept great time, and just had all the functions that I needed. And I think a lot of people, no matter what their background, have had the same experience. So in general, Casio is just a very well-respected brand. The G-Shock especially is just overbuilt, super tough, and just has everything that most people need in a watch. And those things include just beyond normal toughness, extremely tough. These are basically supposed to be able to take a fall from a second-story window, and they do have actually a machine in their testing office, their testing lab, that essentially drops this with the same force of dropping out of a second-story building, and if it doesn't meet the criteria, then they don't release the design. So very, very tough as far as getting dropped. If you've ever had a mechanical watch, like I have a bunch of mechanical watches, they're just not as tough. They're awesome. They're amazing. Mechanical watches are so cool because it's like having a almost like a living, breathing machine on your wrist. It's so awesome, but they are fragile. They're a lot tougher than they used to be, and some of them are shock resistant and so forth, but I mean, honestly, they'll never live up to the toughness of one of these watches. These are purpose-built to be, basically the toughest watches out there. G in G-Shock stands for gravity or gravitational, so it's gravitational shock. And the gentleman that invented these, his last name is, I believe, eBay. I think you pronounce it just like the website where you can buy G-Shocks. eBay, I think it's spelled I-B-E, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, he dropped one of his father's watches that was gifted to him, and it broke, and he set out to design just a super tough watch. And he has definitely succeeded. They had over, I think, 300 failures when they were doing the R&D for this watch, and they finally figured it out. And so they've been an icon ever since, and just such a great story. If you look up the history of G-Shock or the inventor of G-Shock, look up his story, and it's very interesting. It's a great. There's a couple YouTube videos, and it's a great watch. It's definitely something worth checking out. So very tough as far as drop resistance. The other thing is that they are 200 meters water resistant, and that's really important for those of us that have kids and maybe work outdoors or anything like that. Having that water resistance is very important. I know me myself, I don't dive or anything like that, but I go to the pool quite a bit, go to the water park, all that kind of stuff, and it's nice to have something that you can just be rest assured is going to stay watertight. So the 200-meter water resistance is definitely something that makes it a great EDC watch, and something that I definitely appreciate, because I do have some of my mechanical watches are divers watches, but some aren't, and honestly, I never take those out when I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing that day, because you never know when it's gonna, you know, thunderstorm or anything like that. And if it's only a water resistant, quote unquote, watch, I mean, even a strong rain can get in the case. So the fact that these are 200 meters, I think you're just rest assured that it's going to stand up to basically any kind of water that you throw at it, save that you're some, you know, saturation diver or something like that, where you're obviously just going to be wearing a dive computer and not even wearing a watch. So anyway, so the water resistance is definitely there. The other thing is that they are quartz, and let's face it, as a mechanical watch lover, I do have to give it to quartz, just as far as the ease of, hey, I'm just going to pick up this watch and go out the door. With my mechanical watches, I do have to set the time, you know, set the date, all that kind of stuff, you know, because they only have about a 40-hour power reserve, or most of them. So by the time you rotate through your watches, you know, it stopped several days ago, and you have to correct it, you know, basically get it back in time. Quartz watches are much more convenient. Like these three are solar powered. These basically you never have to change the battery. This one, the battery lasts anywhere from 2 to 5 years in this one. So, you know, think about that: 40 hours power reserve, or basically they say 10 to 20 years on these, and then 2 to 5. And to change out these batteries, it takes about 5 minutes, and is $5 for 2 batteries that power this one. So, very convenient. You have to give it to quartz watches. For most people, the convenience factor is always going to win out over the cool factor of a mechanical. So that's another thing. And I guess not the last thing, I don't have this scripted or anything, so I'm probably going to run into more things as I talk. But the other thing is styles. There are so many styles of G-Shocks. When I say there's thousands of combinations of designs and colors. Now, of course, there's probably not thousands of models of G-Shocks. I would say there's hundreds of models of G-Shocks, but within those models, I can guarantee you that there's thousands of combinations. This one here looks very traditional. This looks like a pretty traditional wristwatch here. You know, it's analog. It does have the digital displays down at the bottom, but it doesn't look like a G-Shock. Most people, when they think G-Shock, they think, you know, really oversized and huge, or they think of the square. But I bought this one used for only $30 on Facebook Marketplace, because I kind of wanted a little bit more of a traditional one. I wanted a pool watch. I wanted a watch I could just take out and not worry about it getting banged around. These ones here, this one, I have a little bit more money tied up into those, so I don't want to, you know, just thrash them. Even though they can take it, I want to take care of them, so I wanted that beater watch. Well, something like this would be great, and the other thing about this is it's not huge. You know, compare that to this here, or compare this to this one. Some people don't want a 56 millimeter watch, you know, it's just not in the cards for some people's wrists. So, and some people just want a normal looking watch, but they want that toughness. So, something like that. This one is very military looking here. This is the Casio Rangeman, and has the army green with a negative display on it. It just looks very cool, very military. Some people want a very fashion-oriented watch and a lot of bright colors and, you know, interesting combinations. That's where these squares really come into play. They make tons of combinations of these. Like this is the May release 2019 with the red and black, and then it has this cool white kind of bezel on it here, or surround around the screen. Just really cool looking designs and colors. And there's also the 6900 series, and that one is probably the most common to have all sorts of crazy colors. So you can get purples, yellows, oranges. I even saw one that I think was a Big Mac. It was a McDonald's Big Mac on the face of the watch. Like they designed it to look like a McDonald's Big Mac, and it was actually in conjunction with McDonald's. So all sorts of crazy combinations of colors and designs. And then These Mudmasters are kind of their newest, or one of their newest versions here, and these just have that kind of like super overbuilt, I almost think it looks like a monster truck tire or something, just really rugged look to it. So casual daily wear, military style, fun kind of fashion designs, super tough, beefy, overbuilt looks, and everything in between. I mean, I've myself have bought and sold many G-Shocks, and there's just so many cool designs, and so you'll be able to find something that fits your style. So that's a big plus. The other thing is functions, and this is something that most watch companies can't claim, is that some of these watches here, even the ones on this table, have amazing functions. Like this one here has a thermometer and a compass on it. This one, and this one all are solar powered, and they update to the atomic clock in Colorado. So every night these watches go out and make sure that their time, date, daylight savings time, everything is absolutely to the second. If you look at these, see how they're all synced together? And I actually synced this one with these, so I know that its time is correct. But they're all synced up to the atomic clock, which is very cool. This one here, the Rangeman, has thermometer, compass, barometer, altimeter, and this one tells you when the sun is going to set and the sun is going to rise every day. You put in your latitude and longitude, and it will tell you when the sun is going to rise and set every day, and you know what? It's exactly right. It's really crazy. So the functions are really great on these. If you want to do a lot of diving and stuff, they have a model called the Frogman, triple sensor, and that one has the thermometer, that has the compass, I believe, and then that has a depth gauge on it. So that one is really cool, because that one, if you're diving, it'll tell you how deep you are, and it also has a dive timer on it. There's some that have that Frogman also has the moon phase and the tide graph on it, so you know when there's low tide, high tide, the moon is which phase the moon is at, and so forth. So there's some that are called the G-Lide series, and those are a moon phase and tide, but without the dive timer and without the depth gauge and the thermometer. So they have all sorts of different models that are geared towards certain types of users, and I just think that's brilliant on Casio's part, because what they're doing is they're not alienating anybody. They're making watches that would be useful for pretty much anybody, and I just really think that's excellent. So yeah, I mean, all these things, plus the fact that Casio is so well respected in the industry. I just think that the G-Shock is an unbeatable deal. The ones I have on the table here are a little bit more expensive than some, but honestly, I bought this one for $30 used. I bought this one for $50 used. $50. Now the bezel was beat up, and I did buy a new bezel for it, but it only cost me $20. I'm $70 into this watch. This is a list price $300 watch. You can find it, the cheapest I found it was $189 on Amazon. This one I did buy because it was a special edition. I paid $140 for this one. This one lists for $320. I've seen it for about $200 on Amazon. I got this one used, box and papers, brand new condition, for $130. So even though there's retail, quote unquote, there's quite a bit of money between these four. I shopped smart, other than this one, because that was a limited edition. You can only get it, or limited, whatever it is, May special edition release. I could only buy it through a retailer, and this is a Japanese import, so they're typically a little bit more expensive. But all things considered, I could turn around and get my money back on every one of these. So that's the other thing, is resale value. G-Shocks are in demand on the used market. Now, if you buy brand new, full pop retail, full list price, you're not going to get all your money back on them. But if you buy smart, you know, shop your eBay listings, shop Craigslist, shop LetGo, 5 Mile, OfferUp, all those apps, and of course Facebook Marketplace. If you shop smart, you're going to be able to get basically all of your money back out of these watches, as long as you take care of them. So, and that's the other thing too, is collectability. There's some people, is all they do is collect G-Shocks, and I like knives, I like watches, I like music gear. I've got way too much to collect, and I also love mechanical watches. So I'm not a G-Shock only collector, but there are people that have literally hundreds of G-Shocks in their collections, and they're just amazing collections. And some of them even specialize in just one type, like some just like squares, some just like DW 6900, some of them like Mudmasters, Rangemans, whatever. But there's definitely collectability part to these, and some of the vintage ones are fetching pretty incredible prices. So your money is well spent on these, considering the fact that you will always have something in demand on the used market. And in my experience, the best way to sell these is eBay. This isn't a plug for eBay. There's some things that eBay does that annoys the heck out of me, but I've found that eBay is the best way to resell them because it reaches the most people. Some of the local sites and stuff, you just don't get top dollar for them. And also you have to meet a creepy guy in the Walmart parking lot, and hopefully he doesn't have a gun and all that kind of stuff. So I don't always necessarily recommend that, but try to know who you're meeting and meet during the day and so forth if you're going to do that. But yeah, these are just really excellent watches, and the simple fact is that when it comes to toughness, durability, fun factor, accuracy, water resistance, all that, it's just tough to beat a G-Shock. So I hope that helps. Again, if you've never heard of a G-Shock, where have you been? If you have G-Shocks, comment below, tell me what your favorite model is. I hope this video helped, and I know it got kind of long. What are we at? About 17:30 here. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you guys for stopping by the channel, and I hope that this does drive the point home that the G-Shock basically is the perfect everyday watch. And I appreciate you stopping by. Again, please like and subscribe to Stuff Steve Likes. More content to come, and we will see you on the next one.